Grouping is a fundamental feature in the StatSeeker product. It's a core mechanic utilised by dashboards, reporting, thresholds and alerting, visibility and access control, and filtering response data when utilising the API. If you're not at all familiar with auto grouping in StatSeeker, then I suggest checking out the documentation to get a solid understanding of the features and its applications, and then return to this video so we can run through some basic examples. The idea here is that you're going to define auto grouping rules that will group your network infrastructure in a way that makes sense to you. Now, there's endless ways to group your hardware, so we're going to run through a few options, and even if we don't illustrate something that applies explicitly to your organization, the principles and mechanics of the process will become obvious, allowing you to quickly employ them as needed to suit your specific requirements. So, here we have a server. There are a number of groups already created on this server, some from manual processes, but the majority arising out of the output of auto grouping rules. To define an auto grouping rule, we head off to the admin tool, user profile and grouping, auto grouping. Here we have a range of existing auto grouping rules. Let's make a few more. New rule. Give it a name. What groups do I want to create or populate? And what am I putting into the group? Now, the filters. We can use any configuration data associated with the specific group type. Your network might have an enforced hardware naming convention like we've got here, so I'm going to go with device name and any substring that will be restricted to the devices you want. For my network, if I'm looking at switches, it'll be SWT, lowercase switch or uppercase switch. Test the rule. Does it get all the devices that I think I want? Does it get only those devices that I want? If so, run it and save the rule. Now, a new remote office has come online. So name, group, content, and rule. Everything in Chicago. Let's combine the two rules we just made and get Chicago switches. I just want the switches in the Chicago office. Now, for this rule to work as intended, the Chicago office group needs to be populated and up to date. For it to be populated with any new additions, it needs to run before my Chicago switches rule. These rules are applied on your server with every discovery process and every daily rewalk, and they're applied from the top of the list down. So I need to ensure that the order is correct for the logic in my rules. I can drag a rule to reorder or use the buttons to push a rule to the top or bottom of the list. So that will cover the new additions to my Chicago office. But what about devices that have been removed or repurposed? For that, we need to make the rules self-pruning. I open the Chicago office rule and select the clear option. Now, when the rule is run, the clear option will empty the group first and then apply the rule to your network, repopulating it, and in the process, we remove any entity that no longer belongs in the group. I know that I have a bunch of Juniper 3600 devices which need to be replaced, so let's group them all so I can run a report across my network and pull their details. By IP for a remote office. What about a group of interfaces? Now I know that all my remote offices have a primary link with a title that includes link to San Jose. Which of these are still on gigabit links? So we have groups now. That new Chicago office, what hardware is in there? Select the group, give me the device details. The remote office links to be upgraded. Which offices? That New York office, how's it looking now? Reports, dashboards, thresholds and alerting, and API queries. Keep it fast, keep it simple, use grouping. There's a range of other examples as well as some tips and tricks in the documentation and other associated videos.